The one thing I did that I am so glad was I built community, because no one understands your journey like another business owner. If you scratch the surface, I tell people what I really do is equip women with the skills to give them the financial confidence, in many cases for the first time, to let go of what no longer serves them so they can grab a hold of God's dream for their lives and what does. I saw so many women do this, and I'm like, why y'all lying and not telling people that you started with a part-time job or you had another job as you were building a business?
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Good day and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey. Today's guest is the Job Exit Strategist, Tania P. Brown, founder and owner of TPB Services LLC. After more than 20 years as a corporate executive, Tania turned one of her toughest career moments, what she calls the performance review from hell, into the catalyst for her freedom. Her exit strategy was tested by life throwing everything in the kitchen sink her way, and yet she walked away completely debt-free. As both a certified financial planner and an accredited financial counselor, Tania helps women over 40 create their own corporate escape financial plans. She blends deep financial expertise with practical, real-world money guidance, teaching that you don't need six figures in the bank to make your next move. Whether you're starting with $10 or $100,000, her message is clear. With smart strategy and confidence, you can quit your job and become your own boss on your terms. We'll talk about her journey, her framework for financial independence, and how women can turn planning into power. Welcome, Tania. We're so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes. How is it going?
It is going absolutely wonderful. And you?
Good, good. And I know the environment today demands your services. There's so much going on in terms of layoffs and all of that. So I'm really happy that we were able to chat today and that you'd be able to share some of your expertise with our listeners.
Happy to do so.
Awesome. Let's get started with what we call rapid fire. We try to get very concise responses here, but we'll see how it goes. So can you give us one word to describe yourself as a child and one word to describe yourself now?
Tenacious as a child and curious as an adult.
And what do you think about the difference there?
It's still curiosity, but I just more acted before I thought. Curious now, it's so weird. It's like I'm in midlife and I find the world around me so much more fascinating. Like I really, instead of assuming I know, I feel like at this stage, I assume I just don't know. And I'm excited to learn why.
I love that. And what's one book or a movie you'd recommend?
This may sound, it's so funny. The first thing I thought of was the Bible. Like it's my go-to. Like, I mean, I know it sounds like that's what people say, but that is my source to give me balance and discernment as I make decisions in the world.
You're in good company. We do have a lot of people who mention the Bible. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And let's see, a fun fact about you that most people do not know.
I don't know how many people know this. When I was in the military, my favorite assignment, I actually was an instructor and I taught cadets how to maneuver through a grenade assault course. So I tell people, if you jokingly hear me say, I can blow anything up, that is very true. I know how to use just about every explosive that's out there.
Oh, wow. I love that because I wish that's something I could do, but I cannot. So, thanks for sharing that with us. And if you could work from anywhere in the world for a month, where would it be and why?
Here, I feel so blessed. I love my husband, my family, my home, my cats. I don't want to be anyplace else.
Oh, I love that too. All right, let's move on to the begin segment. So here we'd love to just learn more about your business and the services that you offer.
So, job exit strategist, and I'm sure people are like, what the heck is that? So I help women, it's all ages, but I find it's typically over the age of 40 who are ready to, if you will, evolve out of corporate. And I help them financially prepare to leave their jobs and become solo. If you scratch the surface, I tell people what I really do is equip women with the skills to give them the financial confidence, in many cases for the first time, to let go of what no longer serves them so they can grab a hold of God's dream for their lives and what does.
And I know you mentioned about basically 40 plus. So I actually fit in that category. And I feel like that's a time where a lot changed for me. What I wanted was different. Freedom meant something different. So I definitely relate when you say that the time people are looking to transition. So it's really good that you provide that because when I transitioned, I did not have that guidance. And I can see how having that guidance makes a world of difference. So tell us how you got started in this work.
Ironically, it's in a couple of phases. So phase one is how I got into the financial service industry. I jokingly say, if you ask me, it was 10 years ago, but chronologically, it's more like 30, which is crazy. So I joined the military, ran up debt. And my punishment was that I had to, back in the day, if you did not pay off your debt, your late notice went to the commander. So keep in mind, I tell people I had boldness on triplicate, Caribbean background from Brooklyn, New York, and just an arrogant teenager. So I was like, what? I don't feel like paying. That's what you gotta do. Bless my heart. My punishment was I had to write out a plan. And a year later, my grandmother died. My mother could not afford to pay for the plane ticket to go to the funeral. Because of this plan that I cursed at, that I was forced to do, I could pay for my and her tickets. That was the first time I connected that these little mundane choices with money that doesn't seem important at the moment gives you the freedom to live out your values. And that's when the connection hit. So the first job I got, this is 1997, out of active duty in the military, was in banking, and kind of progressed from banking and became a financial advisor, became a wealth manager, started to go up the corporate ladder, found myself doing consulting to like Fortune 500 companies, including like some sports teams like the NFL. So I would be the person to help them build out their programs. Some of this was job exit strategies, the people who were taking early separation packages, retirement. So this is kind of where these expertise started to build. But I had this weird hodgepodge. I was also teaching life design at my church. I believe we are God's masterpieces. I believe we're created for a purpose that he designed. And I want to help people get there. So I was doing this side at my church, the financial portion, it was not connecting yet. But this is before COVID. I was traveling all the time. I was tired of traveling. And I just felt like my company, frankly, just wanted one more drop of blood out of me. And it kind of came to a head where I had to do a consulting meeting, couldn't make it because I was closing on my house, sent an email. They're like, great, fine. When my performance review came, they pretty much wrote me a new one because I should prioritize the consulting versus the closing of my house. I was done at that moment. At first I was just in shock. Like, am I really sitting here being punished for going to the closing of my house? And I don't even know, halfway through, I was done. In my brain, I was already planning. I knew I wanted to exit. It wasn't quite job exit strategies, but I knew there was a connection to getting women to where God wanted them to be. I wasn't sure what that looked like, but that really was the catalyst for me leaving.
Wow. Wow. Thanks for sharing that with us. Listening to you brought back so many memories for me of being in corporate, and the way your decisions are made for you. There's not really a clear divide between personal and business. For me, it was, don't even plan a wedding during this busy season. Don't plan to attend a wedding. Like, somebody actually said this to me. And I thought to myself, how do you come in here and say this? I have my weekends. I have time off, but you're telling me don't do this. Like, literally putting those kinds of demands on my personal life. That's just what came to me when you said that.
I completely forgot about this. So when I got married, I got pregnant really quickly after I got married. So it was almost like I disappeared for a while and just popped up with a tummy. I remember a woman looking at me with disdain, looking at my stomach. I kid you not. Oh, I didn't think you actually wanted stuff like that.
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was, you got to make choices and sacrifices to get to where you want to go in corporate. But it was just, I was just beside I just didn't even know what to say. But it was like it was disdain at the fact that I was pregnant. It was ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah, I remember once sitting at my desk and hearing some colleagues discuss whether they think a woman was out on maternity leave, whether she was going to come back. And if she comes back, how long do you think she's going to last? And just all of those discussions. So especially as women, when we're in the workplace, it just feels like it's not built for us sometimes. And the fact that those decisions we make about our personal life, it's taken to mean, oh, she's not as serious as she used to be. Now she's going to be taking all this time off. So I just feel like when there comes a time when all of that comes to a head and you make that decision, you know what, I'm just going to do something else. And that's where you come in. Actually, you come in before that.
Yeah.
Yes. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. Let's see. Can you tell us how you probably got your very first client?
That was insane. I quit my job, went to a conference, and at the conference, I am not shy about who I am, what I do, how I can help, really passionate. So one, I was telling everybody in the sun what I did. We had a party bus for the conference to take us someplace, had a random conversation, and that person became my first client. And it was just like, you're just so passionate about what you do. I knew I'd be in good hands. And it was just random. And to me, it was just crazy.
So I heard their passion, confidence, the fact that you believe in what you did and just having that conversation with somebody, and that led to your first client. I love that. So let's move on to the bill segment, and just building up on your first client. How did you continue getting clients, and how do you keep those clients?
Okay, so when I started, one, I was always a really good networker. So getting out there, telling people what I did, that really served me well. When I was interested in starting the business, I had this 3-tier approach because I don't have the luxury of coming from a ton of money or a ton of wealth, like how some people build their clients. I had to get scrappy. I looked at, the first place was my Google contacts. I looked down every person that was in there, and anyone who I thought could be a client or who could be. I personally reached out to the contact to make sure they knew who I was, they knew what I did, and they knew who I can serve. I looked in my phone, every single person in there that could either be a client or that could know someone who could be a client, same thing. I then went on my Facebook contacts. I then went on so you can imagine, this was like 300 conversations. I was having non-stop conversations because I felt everybody should know who I am, what I do, and who my ideal client was. And to my credit, I was really good at saying the exact same thing to the point where I was boring myself. But I knew consistency was key. So I knew it was important that I didn't deviate from the message, and I came up with an easy way. And the easy way for me is everybody knows someone who just keeps talking about how they want to quit their job. I need to talk to her. That was it. So I really, because people don't have time. So I was very consistent in my message, and that was how I slowly began to build up my client base.
So you actually reached out to people you already knew?
Sort of, because when you think about it, if you think through all of those contacts, sometimes you just randomly connect with people. So I was like, you know what? Good enough. So it wasn't like I knew every contact, but yeah, but from there, but that was phase one. Phase two, I started going to networking meetings like crazy, both in person and as well as the online thing isn't what it was today, but it was kind of the beginning of meeting people online, connecting with people, just simply asking.
Yes. And I've talked about that with various guests where sometimes we shy away in our network, whether we know them well or not, telling them what we do and, reaching out to them, letting them know we're open for business. I am guilty of that.
Oh, me too. I was terrified. Oh no, I had to be pushed.
Well, to hear you say that means a lot to me. It just really validates that that's a way to go about doing it and don't shy away from it. And you mentioned a lot about networking, and we met through networking online through, is it Alignable?
I think it was Alignable. Yes.
Yes. And basically they have this, like almost like speed dating where you just they connect you with people one-on-one, have conversations, and you can continue that conversation. And we've had the opportunity to do that. You've actually presented to a group that I co-founded called Entrepreneurs Connect Initiative. And the women in that group they were very happy to hear from you. And I believe they learned a lot. So just tell me a little bit more about your approach to networking in general.
I will be honest. That was how I built my business when I started back in 25 years ago. So it was something I always did. Back then, everything was face to face. I just went to a ton of meetings. I will say I'm also pretty extroverted. So you drop me in a crowd of 1,000 and I'm home. That curiosity. I want to know about someone. So I always approached it as first, I want to get to know them as a human being. It wasn't always about, can I do business with them or are they a fit? I was always great at follow up. I would say that was definitely a good thing for me. And it was to get to know them. And then once I got to know them, how can I help them? Letting them know. And also like, who's the person I can help? But the follow up is important. The thank you behind it is important, and seeing it as mutually getting to know someone as opposed to what you can get from someone.
I love that. That is my approach to networking as well. I love that you mentioned curiosity and genuinely wanting to know that person. And one thing about networking too, you meet one person, but really you're meeting other people that person knows. They introduce you to other people as they learn more about what you do. Like, oh, maybe you should speak with this one, or come speak to a group of other women that I know. So networking is so powerful. In terms of building the business, so aside of starting, what's one of the next big decisions that you think you've made so far?
I was doing all the things, and I was so blessed that I found myself surrounded by extremely successful business owners. And I kept hearing the same thing. One guy finally gave me an acronym. I don't even know who created it. I don't think it was him. He said the key is focus, and that is follow one course until successful. So it was one avatar, one message, one lead magnet, one funnel, one core product, rinse, repeat until I got good at it. And that really was to me the secret sauce, because it's impossible to be good at 5 different things. but focusing on one thing, you get to go deep. Having one lead magnet, you get to fix what's wrong with it. But if you have 5, you don't know what's going on. And I was taught from day one the importance of measuring. They're like, you cannot change and improve what you cannot measure. So to this day, I measure what I'm doing, because I tell people, if Bright Shiny Object Disease was a club, I would be chairman of the board. So I am great, and we all are, at justifying busy instead of productivity. So I was great at measuring activity, and I measured it progressively. So in the beginning, like everybody else, I was terrified of telling people what I did. So I had to tell 5 people a day what I did. That was it. So, and then once I was able to do that, okay, I have to tell 5 people what I did and invite them to a meeting. Okay, I did that. I had to tell 5 people what I did, invite them to a meeting, and actually give an invitation to use my services. So as you can see, instead of giving myself these impossible measurements, like this is just me, in the beginning, pick the stuff that you have control over. Because in the beginning, if you don't have clients, trying to say, I'm going to get 15 book clients, you're setting yourself up for failure, because you don't even have one. But if it's, I'm going to talk to 5 people per day, you can control 5 people. So I stuck, and this was a great advice I got in the beginning, sticking to the stuff that I have control over, because consistent activity in the beginning is building the business. As you go on, you begin to see, I don't know, for every 4 people you speak to, 1 becomes a client. Well, now you know you need 4 people to get a client. And if you're speaking to 4 people that week, 1 is going to be a client. Now you have measurements. And now you can figure out, well, how do you make it from 4 to every 2 people? But the key is start with the activity, start to see the progress, start to slowly see the conversion. But I would not focus on that in the beginning, because it is so defeating. You're just going to have lousy conversions because it takes a while to know what service people wanted. My first service was not the best. Bless all of you out there who may have had me. Love you. It took a second for me to figure out what worked. It took a second for me to understand how to sell my services, what people really needed. We all are guilty of, I love, how does this, one of my coaches called it verbal diarrhea. Like when you just throw up everything you do on a person, and learning how to distill that to what are the 2 things they need to hear. That is a skill, and that takes time. But if you initially measure, hey, how many people did I throw up on per day? That's fine. And then you'll get to, okay, how much concise did I get? So that was kind of how I kind of transitioned from that from the very beginning.
Yeah. And I'm going back to, you said, stop doing things. Is that how you phrased it?
I was doing everything. Yes.
And that brings me to delegation. Is that something you had to learn as well?
I'm still I am very strategically a person of one, but I've learned being a person of one still means you can delegate, whether it's automation. I mean, what I didn't have years ago that I have today is I delegate a lot to AI, or I will hire for what I'm terrible at or what I struggle at. So yes, I had to learn. And look, if I could get a coach from the beginning, just do this, you will save yourself so much aggravation. There are things I just didn't know. There were things I wasn't strong at. And I remember when I finally just buckled down and hired a coach, I kept thinking, this person would have saved me 2 years of mistakes had I hired them from the beginning.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website, www.cmeaccountingllc.com, or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Yeah, I feel that. It is so true. And you also mentioned something about basically your services you provided at first is not what you provide now. And what I've learned is you start where you're at. That was so difficult for me because I try to do everything right the first time. And I've learned that it could be different tomorrow, but just do what you can now and do it. You have to do it to figure out, is this what I want? Is this what people want? You just have to keep being present and keep doing what you do. And it's going to grow over time. It's going to change. It will not stay the same. And that was a tough lesson that I learned. I'm still learning, but it meant letting go of things that I probably held on to for way too long. And that brings me to probably like learning curves. It sounds like you were a high level corporate, not just corporate. So you've been performing at that level. You starting your own business. There must be quite a transition there. And you're also working with people who are looking to do the same. So what's the biggest learning curve that came out of that? And maybe that's something you also help other people navigate.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm like, what? But this woman had put it so well. She said no one told her her entire life would change. And this is what I mean. And I thought she put it so well. She said her entire cycle of living changed. So she goes to the grocery stores in times where she doesn't see the people that she saw because she can go in the morning and most people can't. When she's available, her friends are not. When her friends are available, she's not. The conversations are just different. It's different when you're complaining about a boss versus, okay, how am I going to meet this quarterly thing so I have some money coming in? So I thought, I didn't realize that this is a monumental shift of my life as I know it. And I don't know if people really prepare you for that. Your sense of identity. We, particularly, I would say in the US, are more tied to our title, our workplace, our job than we probably are comfortable admitting. And that's all gone. So you are growing into a new you. If you weren't worried about money, you are now. And even if you're in an okay place, you still have to adjust your lifestyle. So there are things that maybe you never really worried about paying for something. And now you have to be more conscious about what you're paying. The one thing I did that I am so glad was I built community, because no one understands your journey like another business owner. And if you are surrounded by friends that still work in corporate, a lot of times their critique often masks insecurity, envy. You're doing what they are not. So I had to learn to be very discerning in who I went to for guidance and who I didn't. So I found even my relationships started to shift.
And I love that you mentioned community.
Yes.
That makes a lot of difference. And you said people who understand what you're going through. Because in my lowest moments, I think, oh my gosh, should I have made this decision? Should I just go back? I've had people say that. I've told myself, just go back to corporate. I've tried, if I'm being honest. I actually considered it. And, but there is something about the freedom. When I say freedom, I think it's more time, because money freedom doesn't come right away. You really have to work at it. And if that is what you're looking at, you really run back to corporate because it takes a lot to bring the money in. It takes a lot to grow the business, to really build that foundation that you need. So being around people who understand that makes a difference. It helps with the decisions that I make. You mentioned about working with a coach before. That makes a difference as well. I wish I had known that. Or maybe I didn't know because I have worked with coaches before, but even like transitioning from being an employee to a business owner, I used the coach for career development and how to get to the next role. But I didn't think about that when it came to owning a business, that there is that thought process that goes there too. So all of that I learned over time. All of this community has been the biggest thing. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that. And at this time, in this economy, things are shifting. Women in general are out there navigating situations they have not had to before. So can you just tell us a little bit about the framework that you use when you talk about financial independence and quitting and becoming your own boss?
When I talk about it, it's kind of funny. The first thing I do, and I know this sounds a little counterintuitive, I'm very upfront about the time frames as to how long this takes. So at this point, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I was also the chair of my small business committee for a stint, heavily involved in a chamber of commerce. And after the first few hundred people, I knew within 15 minutes, not only if that person was going to make it, but in what month they were going to fail. And I got really accurate. So I saw what it looked like on the other end. But I also saw what I call the reel behind the highlight reels. And what I saw is for every story of that immediate rise to success, there is context that they are not talking about. On average, it's 6 to 9 months to land client number one. And then here's what I find. You have this succession of successes. Something happens and you have this drop off and you have this drought. And that drought can be 6 to 9 months where you don't even have a client. And that's where people quit. If they hang in there and make it to oftentimes that 18 to 24 month period, the business takes off. But I find that drought is when a lot of people have doubts and quit. And I don't understand why. I don't know if God is just testing people's resolve, but I find that to be there. So the first thing I go over is a very realistic timeline because I want to separate the fantasy they have in their head from the reality. And I make it clear, this is a long game. If you think you're going to quit and be at 9 figures by month 3, I think this may not be for you. So the first part is, do they understand what's ahead? The second part is, I am very clear. I am here to make sure that when the mistakes are made, they're not catastrophic. So my goal is to get you to that 24-month period and to make sure we close the gaps in what can kill you. So I am very clear. So I walk people through kind of a 5-step process. It's funny. The first part of what I teach is called self-sabotage intervention. And I go over, here are these mental things that if we don't attack will hurt you. And the first thing is getting people from the highlight reel of what they believe entrepreneurship is to what I've observed. It's a longer process that weird drop off cannot explain, and to make sure they understand what the road ahead of them looks like. And just they have a realistic perspective of what that is. If they are married, have kids, that this is a family decision. You're going to be having to suffer this. It is going to change dynamics of your family. You're not doing this alone. And if there is not buy-in, your business isn't worth your marriage. Your business isn't worth your relationship with your kids. It may not be the right timing. So they have to be somewhere in a place for this. They have, to me, don't quit until you actually have had an actual client. Ideally for me, I don't want them to quit till they've at least had 3 clients, because not only do we have to get proof of concept that what they're trying to do actually is sellable, will someone actually pay for it? But number 3, are they okay with selling it? So I can find someone can have the first 2, but if they're not comfortable selling it, you are not going to make money if you're not comfortable selling. And for some women, that may mean this is a nonprofit, and that's okay. So we have to make sure you're comfortable with all 3. And I find something clicks about client 3 to 5. Like you start to get into a pace, the reality of what you're doing. So if they're going to make a leap, and by client number 3, you're going to have to begin to put stuff in play. Like something starts to happen between 3 to 5. So I feel like at that point, I'm like, okay, we kind of know where we're going here. So that's the place where I would like for them to be. From there, part 1 is the lifestyle reality check. I think you heard me speak. I find a lot of people have no idea what money comes in and comes out, and yet they are using this they're using this fantasy number to gauge how much money they need. So I am a big believer. You must look at last month's spending. We're not guessing, not guesstimating, but we need real numbers to base it off of. Ideally, I would like people to go back further, but at a minimum, I need for someone to look at their last prior month down to the penny. And then we need to know, is this the number that you're comfortable going into? What needs to change with this number for you to feel okay going into business? And a lot of times I'll hear, and I so appreciate people's sacrifice. Yeah, I'm not going to eat out. I'm not going to go on vacation. I'm like, that's just not realistic. So I oftentimes add things back into people's budgets because this is 2 years. It's not realistic. So it's making sure that how they think they're going to spend matches the reality of how they're going to spend, going over the things that people normally leave out. From there, we go over debt. And ideally, I am not here to say pay off debt or not, but what I am here to say realistically, the less debt you have, the less money you need to save, because basically your savings is going towards debt. So at least get rid of the consumer debt. But it's more than just a question of debt. It's how much debt are you willing to take on for the business? What's too much? So it's an overall debt strategy. If you're single with no kids, would it be a home equity line of credit? So if the catastrophic happens, you know you won't go broke. You'll have a hole to dig yourself out of, but the hole won't be bankruptcy. So thinking of what strategy this may or may not play in your journey, and understanding for everything you do with debt, there's a corresponding consequence. And are you okay with that? Next, I'm a big believer, while you are employed, maximize what you have. I find people do not maximize their benefits at all. So and this is my background. So, and as part of my boot camp, I'll have people pull up their benefits. Pretty much it looks the same on everyone's platform, and I'll walk them through, okay, here is what we're going to maximize. Here is what you need to do to make sure that we get the most out of this. Anything we need to transition, that we make sure we do that. The next part is going over the business budget. And I think a lot of people are surprised that the first thing I go over, this is what I tell people, your funds are limited, but the people marketing to you are limitless. People are trained. I tell people, when you go into business, and you know this as well as I do, you have a target on your back for every marketing person that is going to tell you you are trash and you are a failure unless you buy their product or service. And you are going to have to train against that. They will speak to every insecurity and every fear you have for you to buy their product. And when you are in those weak moments, I have been there, you buy them. So I actually train people against sales psychology and say, you're going to have to be strong on this and be clear on what you will and will not buy. And then I walk them through a formula to strategically think through their spending. And to me, it's building the foundation that's going to carry them for the rest of their business life and what this looks like to them. Then we go over pricing, and I'm a little bit different than everybody with pricing. So I believe in getting to a place. There's a couple of levels I go with people with pricing, and it kind of depends on the person. So when you have worked in corporate all your life, I find sometimes the biggest hurdle isn't charging, but it's the belief that you can actually earn money outside of a corporate environment. And I find that's the hump. So if that's the hump, I tell them, look, what is the minimum amount that you feel comfortable charging? Let's do it. Because it's not about the money. It's proving to themselves that they can actually make a sale. I tell them, we're not staying at this amount. We're not staying here, but we need for you to believe that this is possible. Once that proof is there, then we're going to up it. Because the next goal, now that they believe that they can earn money, then the next goal is let's make sure you're pricing for profitability. And then from there, I find once they realize how much they really do need to price for profitability, they automatically raise their prices. I just find when women hear these large numbers, it doesn't make sense. So I just make the numbers make sense. From there, you need those numbers in place before you even think about how much you need to save. And I find when people start with savings, no one has those numbers. So now we can think about what does this number need to look like? What do you have? Where's the gap? I am a huge advocate for a strategic bridge job while you're building the business. And I wish I saw so many women do this. And I'm like, why y'all lying and not telling people that you started with a part-time job or you had another job as you were building the business? It could be making significantly less. So this is not about if you are able to keep your job, make what you're making until you can leave the business, great. But I find that's not everybody. It may be a part-time job where you're bringing in just enough to slow down how much you're going through savings, but it keeps you afloat. This is not career 2.0. This is very strategic. And ideally, can you do something part-time that builds a skill set that you need for your business? So if you want to own a bookstore, can you work at a bookstore part-time? If you want to do marketing, can you work for someone in marketing part-time? Can you use this to build your skill and build a business? And I helped them. At one point, I had a career coaching certification. So odd enough, this is where this kicks in. What does this strategically need to look like? So we have potentially a part-time business that supports the business itself. And the goal is they're going to quit the part-time job. But for right now, it gives them enough finances to where they can focus. Because to me, it's building the business for life. And I don't want them to be quick to do things that they have to break down and rebuild later. So that's kind of what I walk people through. So by the time we are done in my boot camp, you have this plan laid out, you're executing. But what I love about my boot camps is you get the questions out live, because I used to do digital courses and most of my questions came in the course that I am speaking to a video, and a video can't answer my questions. Whereas in my boot camps, it's every place is live. And what I mean by that is there's a portion that's instruction, but there's a portion that you're working on each portion I mentioned in the class. So I am pulling up the spreadsheets. I'm walking through the spreadsheets while you are doing them. So if you have questions, I'm there. If you have points where you're stuck, I'm there.
I had so much heard about timing, making sure the timing is right. So even though it means getting a job in the same area that you would like to, have your business, that is a strategy. So that, and planning before you quit, looking at the real numbers, focusing on budgeting, because you need to know what numbers you're working with, and the mindset shift around pricing. That is, that's huge. Pricing is huge. So that mindset shift, that really speaks to me. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our listeners did as well. So let's look at the last segment here, the Blossom segment. I just have one question here for you. What is the most rewarding part of your work?
I hear some version of this when I hear that someone has hope that this is possible.
Hope that it is possible. And now they can see that it is. Awesome. So tell us, how can listeners reach you?
Well, my website is Tania P. Brown. So it's TANIA P. Brown. That is the website you can go on. I always encourage people, if this is you and you're trying to figure out how to make the money make sense, I have a quiz that I tell everybody to please take. If I was standing in front of you, these are the questions I would ask you. I throw my thought process into it. You get personalized results for what moves you need to make in order to financially get ready. I even give you tools to do it because I'm invested in people's success.
And the passion really comes through. Thank you so much. We will make sure to put your information in the show notes. Thanks for taking the time, and we hope to have you on again.
I love it. And thank you for having me.
Have a good one.
A quick note before we wrap up. The insights and experiences shared by our guests are their own. We love creating space for real conversations about business and growth, and everyone's journey is unique. Therefore, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. It is not meant to replace legal, financial, or other professional advice. So, we encourage you to take what's useful, do your own due diligence, and build what works best for you.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.